This meeting is being recorded.
Today's guest is Lauren Scully. Lauren is an online health and fitness coach based in Dublin, Ireland. Lauren, welcome to the Lifestyle Lifter Show.
Hi guys, this is my first podcast, so bear with me.
First of many, first of many, Lauren. Before we get you to share about your backstory and how you got into fitness, Lauren, share something about yourself that most people do not know.
That most people don't know. This is one thing I just say in interviews. I used to be into fishing when I was younger, and me and my granddad used to go fishing. That's real random, but yeah, I used to fish pigeons every weekend with my granddad. Yeah.
Brilliant. What was your catch like there, Lauren? Were you bringing home many per session?
Used to just catch like mackerel and stuff, but my granddad was deadly back then. He used to bring it home and make like the batter and all himself. So he would get like the beer, the batter, he'd put it all together. We had like a fryer and all, like a proper, it was unreal. It was like having fish in
Unreal.
a fish. Yeah.
Oh, you cannot beat a bit of fresh fish. Lauren,
After
unbelievable stuff. So, Lauren, share a bit about yourself and your backstory, how you actually got into fitness in the first place.
Yeah, so basically, I love the gym. I used to predominantly do classes a lot. So like I would have done like a lot of spin, a lot of hit, a lot of randomness. Um, I never forget the time I used to work in Nando's. So I worked in hospitality for years, and I thought I was great and I was going to the gym all the time, and I believed I was getting results. But I remember there was a Portuguese guy, and he said to me, and this comment has always stuck with me, and he said, "Oh, you go to the gym and you look like that." And I swear I've never forgot it. So it just goes to show that basically I was doing endless amounts of cardio and I didn't pay attention to my nutrition. I would have did like a lot of fad diets, and I didn't really understand macros. Like I thought if you went to gym, if you did loads of cardio and classes, and if you just ate less foods, you would get results. But if I look back, I was having like loads of random snacks. I wasn't tracking my calories. If I was tracking, I would be having like way below what I needed. And I would be doing it for, let's say, like a week or something. And then obviously I couldn't stick to whatever I was doing because I was crashing, because I was going to college. Um, I did a marketing degree. So at the same time as going to college, I was going to work. So I was running on like snacks. And you know yourself, if you're
Yeah.
having snacks, you're constantly hungry. You get these short bursts of energy, and then you crash again. So I didn't have a clue, but that comment's always stuck with me. And when I look back now, like it's took years to get like a bit of definition in my body, and it just like it did not come from doing random classes and not having enough food. So yeah, that's basically how I got into the gym. I was managing a restaurant in Rathouse, really nice restaurant, La Buca, it's called.
Yeah.
Really, really nice food if anybody's from Dublin or Meath. And I started doing my PT course just before the pandemic. And then the pandemic hit, we kind of did the rest of the course online.
Wow.
Um, and then I just started making films. So I think I was just
Yeah.
bored during lockdown. I was just making random recipes, and I was posting like my workouts and stuff on my Instagram now. When I
Yeah.
look back at the videos and the stuff that I was posting, it actually like scares me because I definitely wasn't putting the right message out there, but I didn't
Sure.
know any better. Like back then, my goal was that I thought if I got as lean as possible, I would make a good coach. Whereas I know now that's not the way.
Sure. Yeah.
I didn't have the right frame to get as lean. Like I thought if I put myself in this massive calorie deficit, I would get my dream physique, but I didn't have muscle below that. So the truth was, I stuck to my meal plan. I was running, I was lifting weights, but there was nothing like, when I stripped back, I got to 49 kg, but I didn't have
Wow.
any
Yeah,
muscle. So it didn't look right. And people just
sure.
kept asking me, are you okay? And I was real like, of course I'm okay. Like, I'm following my plan. But yeah, so that's what's kind of pushed me today to teach people the opposite and actually show people that food is fuel and that you don't have to do endless amounts of cardio to get results.
And so what would have changed for you then, Lauren, when you started seeing results? Like you mentioned, okay, some of the mistakes you made in the past was doing random exercise in these classes where it's like, I'm sure someone young like you, someone who's young and fit is doing the exact same workout as maybe a mum in her
Yeah.
30s or 40s, and it could be her very first day in the gym. So
And
if that
every
was one of the, yeah, go ahead, Lauren.
time you go to the class, it changes. So there's no way somebody can progress. Like, every single time you go, it's a new routine. And you know yourself, if the class is a big class and there's loads of people in the class, the PT doesn't even have time to come down and correct you. So my squats, oh my God, if I look back, what I was doing, but I definitely wasn't squatting. Like, definitely not. And everything, I was swinging the dumbbells. I don't know what I was doing. I was just doing loads of random stuff. So basically, during COVID, I got myself a coach online, and I followed his plan. Now, if I look back on that, I don't think that would, like, it taught me something, but I definitely didn't get the right advice from somebody, because my body at the time was extremely lean and I was put into a further deficit.
A deficit, right?
With the goal of trying to put my body in like a lower body fat position to gain, but I don't think that if I look back now, it was definitely wrong, because I definitely got way too skinny.
What were
What
your
happened?
calories at then? I'm curious, Lauren. If you were 48 kilos and you were in a deficit.
My calories were like 1400, but I mean, like, I was obsessed. Like, I was doing everything to a T. I was wearing a Whoop belt because I didn't trust my Fitbit at the time. Like,
Yeah.
I was checking everything. But if I look back, my sleep was absolutely awful. Like, I could not sleep. I was constantly hungry. I was waking up, and the first thing I would do would be, I would have a glass of water and I would go for a run. Now,
Yeah.
with the
Wow.
runs, my goal was to burn 250 calories, and the gyms were closed. So the only option I really had was to go for a run. I didn't have any bikes or anything at home. After a while, your body takes longer and longer and longer to burn that 250 calories. So
Yes. Yeah.
essentially, I was running 12K and I was just getting skinnier and skinnier and skinnier. And my goal was to build my glutes. I was getting way trusting the process and I was trusting the coach. And I think it just goes to show that sometimes you should ask for a second opinion, and you should make sure the coach you choose has experience in coaching people like you and has your best interest at heart and is not just looking for a transformation, because that type of plan sent me over the edge. Like, I never forget the day. I basically was offered from a company a barbecue package during lockdown, and I always remember this. And these things, they helped me to coach my clients. They sent me out a package, right? And I was sticking to my meal plan. I think I was about week 5 and I never had an off-plan meal. I was like taking this thing seriously. I was weighing my berries to the point that I was even afraid to cook my chicken on the barbecue, just in case my dad made grams, which is
Oh
mental.
my God, right. Yeah.
Never forget it. I got sent a barbecue package from a company, and I had this barbecue, and say I had like chicken wings and stuff. And I told my coach at the time, and their approach was like to literally like give out to me and go mental and tell me, no, I'm meant to stick to the plan, blah, 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 blah. And stuff like that really affected me, because when I came off the plan and left the coach, I didn't know how to eat properly again. And I was only on that plan for, I think it was like 6 or 7 weeks.
Yeah.
But it really, really messed up my relationship with foods, because then every time I went to eat something that, let's say, was quote unquote bad in my head,
Gotcha.
I was feeling awful, like I was feeling guilty. So that's what
Did
kind
that
of,
trigger binge eating then, Lauren? Because
yeah. And I got to the stage where I actually have another friend and people who were coached by the same person, and they all experienced the same thing. But basically, I got to the point where, if so, when I left the plan, I continued to kind of do the plan myself, but I was allowing myself to have, let's say, an off plan meal. But this meal was definitely a cheat meal, and a cheat meal would turn into a cheat day. And it wasn't like, it would get to the point where, like, I would literally stick to my calories all week. Now, I was over restricting myself still, because I say my calories were max 1600, like, definitely. And I was still training days a week, doing my cardio on top. My steps were through the roof. So, and people used to be like to me, a rest day to me was still like 20,000 steps. I would make
yeah,
sure I
yeah, that's a workout. Yeah, yeah.
was recovery, I was calling that. So I don't know what that was. But yeah, it got to the point where, when I had, let's say, a pizza or I had a burger, I would feel the need to eat everything in sight, because I knew that the next day I wasn't allowed to have that,
Sure.
and that it would be another week before I had it again.
Binge restrict. And what would a typical day of binge eating then look like for you, Lauren?
Like, my breakfast would stick the same. I would have like my oats and stuff the same. Like, I love oats. I've been eating the same breakfast for the past 2.5 years. I think I'm addicted. The only thing I do is I change the way I cook the oats.
Yeah.
Sometimes cold ones, I have the overnight ones, but I don't change that breakfast. And if I don't have my oats for breakfast, I'll have them for lunch, or I'll have them in my last meal or
Gotcha.
something. It's like, it's
I'm
a
the
habit.
same. Oats every day. Yeah, they're like dessert. Absolutely.
Unreal. But no, not the, like, a typical day. Like, I could be fine. I could get to my lunchtime, and let's say even something like having a chicken roll would throw me off. Like, it
Yeah.
wouldn't be like massive greasy food. It
Sure.
would just be
Yeah.
off plan. Or if I had something that, let's say, I couldn't track on my fitness pal, again, throw me off. And I used to do things that I see in clients now. So, like, I would go out for food with friends, and I would order something that maybe I thought was healthy, but then I would go home and binge. So, like,
Sure.
and there's a lot of
Yes. Yeah.
secrets
Yeah.
around, because you don't want people to know. And I
Yeah.
also didn't want someone thinking, oh, that's that girl, the fitness girl, and she's having that.
Mm.
Like, it became
Yeah.
like a perception thing as well. I think I was afraid to eat bad foods, call it
Yeah.
that, in front of people in case they judged me. And I think I just
Gotcha.
developed this massive problem with my mindset.
Yeah. Yeah. I can actually relate to something similar. I'm not sure. Have you heard of the 75 hard challenge?
No. What's that?
So 75 hard it was a challenge that I did during lockdown, because like everyone, you wanted something to focus on and something to
Yeah.
just to do. So I thought now would be the perfect time. 75 hard, what's involved is in 75 days consecutively, you got to do 2 workouts a day. Both of them have to be at least 45 minutes, but one of the workouts has to be outdoors. That's the
Oh,
first thing. Secondly, you must follow a diet, but there's a caveat to that. Absolutely no alcohol and no cheat meals. All right. Third
for
thing was just,
5 days.
yeah, for 75 consecutive days. So 2 workouts a day for 45 minutes, one of them outdoors, follow a diet, no cheat meals, no alcohol. Drink a gallon of water a day, read 10 pages of a book a day. And the final one is just take a progress picture. And of all of those 5 or 6 things, the easiest thing to do is take a progress picture. That requires minimal effort. But here's the rule. If you miss one of the steps in the 75 hard challenge, you have to
Right.
go back to day one and start again. You can't just pick up where you left off. So for me, I got to day 42, which is exactly 6 weeks in. And I did my 2 45-minute workouts. I followed the diet. I drank the gallon of water. And then on day 43, which I thought was day 43, as I was taking my progress picture, I looked at my camera roll and I was like, where's yesterday's photo? It wasn't there.
My
I
God.
just scrolled back, went through like recently, deleted. It wasn't there. So it was like, it was just that realization that you did this for 42 days and then one small little thing you messed up. Now, Lauren, what do you think my reaction was when I was, same like you, classifying foods as good and as bad, when suddenly I knew that I was off the challenge?
It's just like it actually it's horrible. Like, and
It's a
do you know,
horrible feeling.
I used to say to people, I wish I didn't have the knowledge behind the foods. I actually wish I didn't know better. Like back then, I just wish I didn't even know the calories. I was like, oh, please don't even tell me, because it got to a point where like I would freak out so much. And do you know what? It didn't change until I moved back to Dubai. And when I moved back, I lived in a house with 5 people. And one of the girls was PT too. And I was looking at what she was having, and like she looked unreal. And I was like, oh my God. And she was online coach too. And I think like I started to go out again, and I started to like, if you go out, everybody knows the next day it's very hard to stay on track. You're less inclined to make really good decisions if you go out, like in terms of your nutrition. And that's
Absolutely.
why
Yeah.
I don't encourage people to drink every weekend if they're on a diet plan. It's not practical. But being in Dubai has absolutely unreal food, and there's so many brunches, and watching everybody else do it and living with people that actually just ate normal. I was like, oh my God, why am I so obsessed with foods? Like it just kind of, it really did. It made me break that cycle, and I actually gained 10 kg, but I didn't know I was gaining it. And I never forget it. I went to take my weight once, and I was like, oh my God, I'm 62. I was actually going skiing in Dubai Mall, and my cousin was like to me, I never forget what she said. There's comments that always kind of stick in my head.
Yeah.
She was,
Yeah.
you're 62. No, you're not. And we both just looked, and I was like as puzzled as she was. And I was like, that actually just goes to show that the scales means absolutely nothing, because if I had been tracking my weight all along, that would have triggered me to get into the 60s. But when I got to 62 and I actually just felt the way I felt, like I got my period back, I was feeling like my energy, my mood, and I just felt more confident in pictures and stuff. When I was super skinny, although I was posting and all, like I didn't like what I was seeing. I think I had a bit of body dysmorphia because I was obsessed with being skinnier, but I don't think I wanted to be skinnier. I think I wanted to be toned, and that's what most girls look for. But I don't think they realize they need a little bit of muscle to be able to see that. Being toned and defined is not just being skinny.
Yeah. Yeah. Like when you think of it, when people say they want to tone up, like when you
Yeah,
actually break it down, what does tone, like what gives your body that shape and that tone? It's muscle in the absence of body fat. You build muscle by lifting weights, you lose body fat by being in a deficit, but you need to have muscle there as the baseline. At the baseline is what you were saying to actually get there. So I know, Lauren, something you kind of speak about. I was just checking out your profile there. It's like strong is the new skinny.
yeah, like I
So like,
definitely
yeah, would
think.
you mind just elaborating a bit on that?
Yeah, so the way I coach my clients at the moment is I tell them, if you're going to the gym, don't be thinking I'm going to the gym to burn calories. Of course you're going to burn calories, but if that is your intentions, it's very hard to get past that point. And often if you have girls and they come on board and you don't give them cardio and you just give them resistance training, they're going to text it. And I always get it. They text it and they're like, I'm not really burning anything. Your Fitbit doesn't know how to calculate that properly,
Yeah.
and it's not the same. And the benefits you get from going to gym and being able to squat, right, actually just putting I don't mean like squat as in holding a dumbbell and stuff. Everybody starts there. But when you get to the bar and you can actually squat and hold the weight, the benefits of how you actually feel and the confidence you get of going into the gym, walk into that bar and actually being able to do it
I
is
love
so much better than looking.
it.
Oh my God, there is nothing worse. Like, I remember back then, I used to struggle and I used to just never do it. Like, RDLs, terrified of doing that. Squats with the bar, terrified. Hip thrust, I was like, how are people doing this? Like, and now, like the confidence you get, like I don't even care. I would tell somebody if they don't feel comfortable or they're bloated, put on a baggy jumper, put on a baggy t-shirt and go in and just lift it. Because the majority of the time, guys, I used to think that guys would be impressed if they seen this little skinny girl in a little bra
With
in the
the
gym.
pink dumbbells, yeah.
Or doing a little ab workout in the side. No way. They're more impressed by seeing some girls squat loads or doing. And I'm not saying you have to go to the gym for guys or
Absolutely, yeah.
like
Or
that,
vice
but
versa, yeah, absolutely, yeah.
in terms of your confidence, like the boost you get from going in. I have girls and they message me and they're like, oh my God, I just did a PB of this. And my sister now, like my sister's 16 and she just started going to the gym. And I'm glad that I think the mindset around lifting weights has changed, because in her friendship group, now she's 16, they're all about weightlifting and she will not come to a cardio class with me. Sometimes I still like to do like the odd spin because I love the
Of
challenge
course,
in
yeah.
harder ones. It's not part of my routine or my training plan, but I do the odd one if I'm bored on the weekend and I'm like, oh, I wouldn't mind doing that. But my sister would never do that, and that's kind of good because she's like, and she'll come home from school now and she's like, oh my God, one of the girls in my year can squat this, and it's such a big change. Like, it's great. I feel like for girls to learn that like you don't get bulky from lifting weights
Yeah.
has took years, but I feel like it's finally there and people actually get it. And now the next thing is the foods. I feel like that's still a struggle for most girls. And most girls think that if they go for food, they need to get the salad or they need to get this because they're a girl. When no. Like, girls need carbs and they need not even just carbs. Like, I have a lot of girls who come on board and they're afraid to have fats as well, like healthy fats.
Yeah.
And it's mental and that affects your hormones so much. I look back to my plan when I started, I was on like 35 grams of fats. No wonder why I didn't have a time in a month. Like, that's mental. Like, that is not enough for your hormones. And when I went to get my bloods done, my body wasn't producing enough progesterone back then.
Yeah.
And like, I'm not surprised. I was putting my body through so much stress, and people don't get that. If you go to gym, that's a stress on
Yes.
your body.
Yeah.
So if you don't even have enough food, then it's not going to do you good. I say to most girls that if they're coming on a fat loss plan, the results, they come from nutrition, your sleep, and your stress management. If you can get those, great. Then focus on the gym. The gym is a bonus, and the gym is to help you
Yeah.
feel good. So that's my style at the moment.
Gotcha. Yeah. Very good. And what's your current like workout split at the moment, so Lauren?
So at the moment, so I used to just go and do like lower, upper, and just rotate. And I found it hard to get structure. And then when I was in Dubai, I increased my leg days to 3 sessions. But
Oh,
I
three
was,
times a week.
yeah, because it's got those glutes. But I was in the steak factory. I still found it hard. So at one time in Dubai to grow my glutes, people won't believe this, but I was up at like 3,500 calories a day. And I was actually struggling to get that in sometimes because of my job, because I worked for a gym and I was teaching the classes. I had my own clients and then I was doing the online. So trying to eat that on top was making me feel a bit. So some days I'm
It
not
was
even gonna
very active. Yeah.
It wasn't a very clean bulk sometimes. Sometimes I was having the Cheesecake Factory just because it was the easiest way to get the calories in, but don't recommend that now, but it did work. Cheesecake Factory here. But my
Three
split
and a half thousand is a lot of like I'm currently at about 3,500. And
yeah.
even some I'm doing that now, to be fair, like relatively clean. I just don't like the way eating a lot of junk food makes me feel. My
Ah,
mood, my productivity, my training, my performance. But whatever about me, like weighing whatever, I'm probably 20, 30 kilos extra than you are. Like for a girl to get 3,500 calories in, that,
hard.
that must have been a struggle.
It's so hard. It's literally so hard. Um, but my split at the moment is I do my shoulders and my arms together. So basically, like my shoulders and my triceps, I do that in one day. Then I do back and biceps, and then I do 2 of the leg days. And one is glutes and hamstrings, and one is glutes and quads. And I always kind of make sure between my leg days if I can give as much of a gap as possible. It just depends on the week, but if I can have like
Yes.
2 or 3 days between those sessions, it's great. I used to love, like I love to go for runs, but honestly, myself, I always notice if I start the running, I see a difference in my glutes. It begins to drop, and it's either I bring my calories up, which like I just find if I'm running and my goal is to build my glutes and I'm trying to train, I'm not as good in my workouts, like in
Sure.
my resistance training. And it doesn't matter if I ran a day before or whatever, I still find it hard. So for the time being, I've cut the cardio. I do like the Stairmaster for like 10 minutes as like a
Yeah.
warm up kind of thing, but that's it. I don't do any cardio anymore.
Yeah.
More steps. My steps are high. I love walking. I love listening to podcasts. This is the
You
first
have
one
to
that I
listen back to this one.
well.
Yeah, and personally, what I like to do, because I still like to stay relatively fit, just for like 5K, 10K runs,
Yeah,
events like that. But I'll do my cardio at the end of the workout. Like I made the mistake before, I'll be honest, of like, you run like a 5 or a 10K, or you do all your run and then you load up a barbell and do back squats. Your performance, as you said, it does decrease. It'll take away from your strength, increase the risk of injury. So if you are someone who likes to do that bit of cardio, I would recommend do it at the end of your workout. And
yeah.
at least then you've got the weights done and you can transition onto that.
To be
But
honest, at the end of my workouts, I'm starving. The
yeah,
last
yeah, I know. Yeah, it's always a good sign of a workout, though, isn't it? When
I
you're
know
hungry.
that's the main thing. But I'm really like dying for my square bar. Like I'm like, I have to eat before I even get home. I have my lunch at home, but I have to have something. Or I don't know what it is. I don't know if this happens to you, but I get very like, I need food. It's probably all the blood flow going, but
100%. Yeah, it depends on the workout as well. But I often feel after like a hard leg session or something, it's like I could be like an absolute demon now. If I'm in the shower and something comes up and I'm not able to eat for like another 30 minutes. I don't know. Do you ever just get this like brain fog where it's like you can't even think clearly and it's like
I get
you're in a
really
bad mood?
I get really anxious. I said to my dad, I don't think I'm normal. Like, the way there's people and they actually forget to eat. I'm not one of those people. Like, food is my priority. It doesn't matter where I am. If I'm even going somewhere, I'd be thinking, how many hours it is between that? Because I know myself, I get hungry and it's not worth
Exactly.
it.
Yeah.
And I always say to clients as well, in terms of, I think it goes back to that restrictions and binging and stuff as well. If you leave these massive gaps between your meals, you're
Absolutely.
more inclined just to go and eat crap then because you can't think straight and you're just like, oh, give me something now. Like, do you know that kind of way?
And so speaking of food and flexibility, I feel this is something you really preach in your content, Lauren. Like a lot of your recipes and meals they're high protein, low calorie, but they look super tasty as well. So like, can you just share some tips for anyone who is on like a real like rigid plan at the moment? And personally, for instance, big mindset shift for me was actually like a few years just being able to eat bread and
Yeah.
white potatoes. Like those two foods for me were like, oh no. If I eat those, I'm going to gain weight. But once you understand how to actually fit them in and include them into your overall calories, like for me, it was like a light switch. You hear all the coaches saying you can do it, but you always have that bit of skepticism and doubt that it's okay for them because, but I'm different, insert excuse. So for anyone out there, Lauren, who's still maybe classifying some foods as good, some foods as bad, and who may like get anxiety even around social events or eating out, what are some tips that you give to him or to her?
So basically, this is my opinion. When you're starting off as a coach, it's hard to calculate macros for people and give them like loads of options to follow, and it can confuse people. So that's why like the easiest way to give somebody a plan and the easiest way to get results is to have that consistency and say, here's your meal, stick to this. Now that of course works and you can get like fantastic results, but the problem there is that's great for people who know what they're doing, and then if they want to swap this or swap that, they can do it. But for the type of girls that I train, the problem isn't that. The problem is they don't understand nutrition and they have a bad relationship with food. So if I go to them and I give them 3 meals and I'm like, this is what you need to eat, okay, they'll get results, but at the end of the program, they won't have a clue what to do because they're still going to be totally confused. So the way that I train my clients is I give them calories. Now it depends on the client. There's some girls, and I said, just take a picture of your food and send it to me and I'll check the portions. But for the majority of my clients, I give them the calories, and the goal is stick to the macros as close as possible, but the main one to focus on is your protein. So I keep saying every meal you have should have 30 grams of protein. This is just like a benchmark for the majority of people. Again, it does depend on the person and their macros.
Yeah.
So when they're making their meal, I'm like, what do you actually enjoy eating? If you're somebody who likes chocolate, then why are you not having chocolate? Like, you can just incorporate the chocolate into your plan. Obviously, I don't recommend having marshmallows and Freddo bars every day in your oats, but maybe once or twice a week, put them in, and the rest of the week have dark chocolate. Add in, like, just try to balance your meals out. Like, if you're somebody that, let's say, wants to prep your meals, that's great, prep your meals. If not, I'll teach you how to have wraps and bagels for lunch instead. It just comes down to somebody's lifestyle as well. Like, for some people it suits them to have that, and for some girls it doesn't. And for people who work in business, let's say, and they have lots of lunches and they have to go for meals out with their clients, right? It is not okay for me to say, here's a meal plan, there you go, because they're not going to bring their Tupperware out with clients. Like, I have girls and they're liars, right? And they have to go for meals. So what I say is, when you get to the restaurant, keep your breakfast the same, keep your snacks the same. When you get to the restaurant, pick something that's high in protein, ask for the sauce on the side, and add in some healthy fats. So they can ask for halloumi cheese, they can get normal cheese, avocado, nuts. There's so many ways to do it, and I'm not going to be like, you need to track that meal. No, you don't. Just track your breakfast, track your dinner, and then get back on track. Life is not supposed to be like, I believe you shouldn't have to track your food every single day for the rest of your life. And you know yourself from being a coach, the point of tracking is you learn how to visualize food, and then eventually you kind of know. And if you're having similar meals each day, what is the point of tracking it? You're literally just putting the same thing in again and again. So my goal on my Instagram, on my TikTok, is to show people that you don't have to eat chicken and broccoli to get results. I encourage you to eat chicken and broccoli the odd time, just because it's easy, and things like having pita breads with like ham and cheese, like sticking to the basics sometimes. Yeah, of course, you can't make these fancy meals every day. But if you really enjoy foods, you can think outside of the box. Like, you don't have to be boring to get results, and nothing is good or bad. And I often have girls, they come and they say, oh, if I have bread, it bloats me. And I'm like, how often do you have bread? And they're probably only having bread when they binge or once a week. Of course it's going to bloat you because your body is not familiar on how to
Absolutely.
digest it. But if you balance your meals out each day, perfect. Another thing I see, and I think it's coming from Instagram at the moment, is a lot of clients, they come on board and everything they have is low fat or low cal. The problem with that, and I'm seeing it a lot with clients, is they're sticking to their calories, and that's great, and their protein is high, but they're not having enough proper carbs and real food to help with their digestion and help to break it down. And I'm seeing that loads. Like, I'm all for these like slim rolls and slim bagels, but sometimes it's just not enough to get that fit. Don't mean to be disgusting, but to help you break down your food, you need to have proper food. So yeah, I'm just really passionate about food, and I just feel like I hope girls don't go on these plans. I don't mind like a transformation and stuff like that, as long as you are like aware of the effects that it can have on you, and as long as you have like a coach to support you when you're finished the 4
Yes,
weeks, how to get your
absolutely.
calories back up.
Yes, yeah. And even with these like short-term plans, like look, they do work in the short term, but it's like just understanding that it's not sustainable to follow that procedure long term. And provided you do have an exit strategy, that you don't just build yourself up to this, magical date at the end when you'll be done. You also got to think of what happens next, which is why it's always a good idea, I feel, to set a goal, but then set a follow-on goal once that initial goal is actually completed. So you've something else to work towards, because otherwise you can feel like a bit lost, like, oh yeah, I've achieved the body that I want. Where do we go from here? Do we
Yeah.
continue dropping, or if you have another goal there in mind, then it obviously becomes easier. Lauren, we're coming up in time here, but I feel we covered a lot, everything from training, big on food there. You're very, very passionate about that. Lauren, what I'd love to know now is just to wrap it up. By the time this airs, so currently it's mid-November, this will be out in just the start of December. And obviously, Lauren, with the holidays coming up and a couple of nights out, you're someone, as we mentioned, who preaches balance with food. How do you incorporate balance with alcohol or going for drinks, if anyone here is obviously going out for a few Christmas sociables?
Okay, so we live in Dublin. Well, I live in Dublin. This is for Ireland. But basically, people have this all or nothing approach, and I've had it for years. And honestly, you do not have to go out with the intentions of going on an absolute mad one. You will enjoy your night so much better if you go out and you think of the balance. If you set yourself a goal for the next day. So organize a breakfast date or a coffee and a walk, and then when you go out, you're already setting those intentions in your mind.
Yes.
Thinking, right, tomorrow I'm going on this walk, so maybe I might have a glass of water between my drink, or I might just drink at a slower pace. Not everyone has the same mindset and the same goals, and if you're surrounding yourself with friends who actually enjoy to go on mad ones and go back to sessions, etc., then maybe you need to think, should I go out with them or should I not? I have distanced myself from people, and I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I think if you can put in your mind before you go out that you're not going to get like this, then you're less inclined to get
Yes.
like that. Also, I think simple things that people overlook is the next day when you first wake up, your body is going to be screaming for foods. It always is. If you can just prolong that for like an hour, get out, get some fresh air, have some water, get some steps in,
Hydrate, yeah.
change your mindset, and then have your breakfast as normal. If you want to have your takeaway, but don't eat crap food all day long, because you're going to be hungover for another day, because you're still going to feel like shit the next day. And that's what happens with these 2-day hangovers. People, the next day, their body is screaming for good food and they're not giving it to them. They're just making their hangover worse. So
Yeah.
That's it.
Lauren, you saying there with like that all or nothing mentality, that was me in my early 20s. It's
Oh, that
like
was me too.
when
That's what
when I'm out, and you know, you just go to absolute town in it. To be fair, I wouldn't have been the worst for the food the next day, but still my choices wouldn't have been the best. But as you said, it's something I've been exploring lately, like just going out and having a few and still like waking up and feeling relatively fresh. You know what? There's nothing wrong with that either. And as you said, you know, don't try not to be too easily influenced if someone's like, ah, go on, but they might have complete different intentions and goals as you
yeah,
do. So as you said, rethinking that. Lauren, we're just going to finish up with our final five rapid fire
yeah,
Q&A. All right. And
yeah.
this has been awesome so far. So the first one is, what is one new habit you've implemented this year?
Meditation. I love
Mm.
meditation, but it puts me asleep. I'm not very good at it, and I hold my hands up. I think it's just because I'm go, go, go. I love it. It just helps me. If I'm feeling stressed, I'll do it, and I'm like, it's lovely.
Awesome. Do you do that in the morning or night or different times each day?
You out the day. So if I'm busy or like I feel a bit stressed, I'll put on
Yeah,
a 10-minute meditation on YouTube, and it just helps to calm me down. Just helps me
insane.
stay focused.
Unreal. I love it. Brilliant. When you hear the word successful, who's the first person that comes to mind?
Kim Kardashian. I think she's a boss woman, and I think like she started off doing something that maybe she shouldn't have done, and she has proved herself to the world, and she is
Yeah,
somebody who doesn't care about what anybody else thinks, and she knows exactly what she wants, and she goes and she gets it.
I like it. Yeah, strong personal brand. Awesome. If you could go back to when you first started in the gym, Lauren, I feel we touched on this. What is one piece of advice you give to your younger self?
Move away from the cardio section. Don't be afraid to step out of your comfort zone.
Respect. Oh, that's an awesome one. What do you feel is the most underrated gym exercise that most people do not do enough of?
Oh, in the gym, just in the gym.
In the gym, yeah.
Do you know what? I actually think it's probably hip thrust, because I thought that squats were like the main thing for growing your glutes. And lately I'm noticing with the hip thrust, I'm getting much better
Yeah.
results. And it's all about the angle of your feet as well. Sometimes like I can like, oh, I'm hitting this part and this part. So yeah, hip thrust.
Hip thrust, awesome. Yeah, I did 8 minutes every minute on the minute of 8 reps last Friday, and I was barely able to walk Saturday and Sunday. They are amazing. Finally, what is one question, Lauren, you wish people asked you more of?
Um, oh, you wish they had that have to throw me off. Um, how are you basically? I'm not asking like, I feel like a lot of the time in Dublin, for when you meet somebody, they're like, what do you do or something. I'd like somebody just to get to know you for who you are sometimes, instead of trying to quiz you. I don't know. Maybe that's a shit question, a shit answer to your question. I
No,
don't know.
yeah, like
How are
kind
you
of not,
actually get to know?
yeah, not tying all your identity just to your job title or what you actually do for a living.
Yeah, exactly. Like I don't know, but I actually was saying this to my dad the last day. I was saying like, you go to a shop and it takes nothing to actually just say hello to somebody or be nice to them.
Absolutely.
I was basically a waitress for years, and I used to feel that, do you know, when someone's just rude all the time and they don't know, you could be in college, you could be doing this to go away in the summer, they don't know your background. So just be nice to people everywhere you go, because you don't know why they're there or what they're doing. So yeah, just be nice to everybody.
Unreal.
Right.
Unreal. No, that's awesome. Lauren, I feel like we covered a lot here, but for all of our listeners out here now, I want to learn a bit more about you and what you offer. Where is the best place to send them?
Yeah, I hate saying this, but my Instagram is Lauren Scully's PT. I feel like if you put PT at the end of it, it's
Yeah,
nearly
I'll
like,
post that in the show notes anyways. So it's Lauren Scully PT on
yeah,
IG.
yeah,
That, that's the best place. Awesome. Lauren, final question, because this is the Lifestyle Lifters show.
yeah.
What is your definition of living a successful lifestyle?
Just being happy and waking up every single day and having a purpose. Once you have a purpose, then that's all. You shouldn't be waking up and regretting to start your day. You should be waking up and springing up and feeling like, oh, today is going to be a great day.
I love it. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Lauren, thank you so much for hopping on. This has been amazing. Great touching base and great chatting with you. And for all of our listeners out there, if you got value, ton of value taken from today's episode, please do share the show. Subscribe on Apple iTunes, subscribe on Spotify, and tag me, tag Lauren in your IG stories if you listened and if you enjoyed the episode. Lauren, thanks so much for hopping on. It's been amazing.
Thanks.